welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting decimals. First, let's just take a look at an actual application of when we would add or subtract decimals. In August of 2001 at the World University Games in Beijing, China, Hicks ran the 200-meter dash in 24 and 800 seconds. Her best time at the U.S. Senior National Meet in June of the same year was 23 and 3500 seconds. How much faster did she run in June? Because we're finding out how much faster, we're finding the difference. So we would take our 24 and 800ths and we're going to subtract the 23 and 3500ths. Now notice, basically the big thing that we have to remember is that we're going to line up those decimal points. And once I do that, I'm going to bring that straight down for my answer. 8 minus 5 is 3. I can't take 3 from 0, so I'm going to cross off the 4, make it a 3. Make this into a 10 because I'm going to borrow. 10 minus 3 is 7. 3 minus 3 is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. So essentially she ran 73 hundredths seconds faster in June than she did at the World University Games in August. Now it's your turn. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and try this one out on your own. If Tom ran the 100-meter dash in 11.5 seconds last year, and this year he improved his time by 568 thousandths seconds, how fast did Tom run the 100-meter dash this year? So if he improved his time, basically he was able to run it at a faster time. So we're going to take the 11 and 5/10, and we're going to subtract how much faster he ran it, which is going to be 0, 5, 6, 8. Here, notice I lined up my decimal points again, so I'm going to bring that straight down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in some 0 placeholders. We do that just so we have some digits that when we're lining up. So I'm going to go ahead and cross off that 5, make it a 4. This becomes a 10, but then becomes 9, and then this becomes 10. 10 minus 8 is 2, 9 minus 6 is 3. We can't do the 4 from 5, so I'm going to cross off this 11, make it a 10. 4, and then this becomes 14. 14 minus 5 is 9, and then we just bring down our 10. So he ran the 100-meter dash this year in 10 and 932 thousandths seconds. Now, since we've been working with positive and negative numbers, we're going to incorporate that with our decimals as well. So we're going to first do this using a number line. If you notice on my number line, my numbers go up by 2/10 each time. So if I go and I start at our 3/10, I'm going to go from 0 to 3/10. It's going to put us about halfway in between. So I'm going to go right here, and that's going to be our positive 3/10. Now I'm going to take away 1 and 2/10. So if you think about it this way, if I have 3/10 and I would take away, or 30 cents and I take away $1, that's going to bring me back all the way to 7/10. Which is right here, but then I have to go 2 more tenths, so 8/10 and 9/10. So we're going to end up with negative 9/10 as our answer. Or if we just did it using the algorithm, I'd have 1.2 tenths, and even though we're subtracting 1.2 or adding a negative 1.2, remember we're just finding the difference because their signs are opposite. So I'm going to take 1 and 2/10 and I'm going to subtract 3/10. This becomes 12. Bring down my decimal point. 12 minus 3 is 0.9. Our answer is a negative 9/10. Alright, so let's just look at another example. Here we're going to have 1 and 5/10, and we're going to add a negative 1 and 8/10. Now if you notice, the numbers are actually incorrectly labeled on our number line because they start up by going by 2/10, and then all of a sudden they're jumping and changing. So if we look at this, this is fine till here. We have 8/10. This would be 1. Then this should actually be 1.2. Then the next one would be 1.4. And then 1.6. So it's really just this 1 that was mislabeled. Alright, so if we're going to go to 1 and 5/10, we started our 0. We're going to go to 1 and 5/10, which is going to be right here. Okay, now we're going to add a negative 1 and 8/10. So here, if we take away 1, that would leave us at 5/10, which would be right here. But then we're going to go 8/10 more. Well, we have 5/10 to get to 0, and then there's an additional 3/10 So this would be the minusing 1.8 tenths or adding a negative. So we should end up at a negative 3 tenths. Once again, because they're opposite signs, I'm just finding their difference even though I'm adding. So I have 1 and 8 tenths, and I'm subtracting 1 and 5 tenths. 8 minus 5 is 3. But because I'm taking away more than I have, it'd be negative 3 tenths. Just a quick reminder that subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. So now let's look at an example when we're doing that. Here we have 12 and 1/10 and we're subtracting x, but in this case x is a negative 1/10. So we have 12 and 1/10 and we're subtracting a negative 1/10. So what I like to do is, because we're subtracting a negative, if you want to put parentheses around it, remember we're going to add the opposite. So we're going to change that to an addition sign. I'm just going to use a different color to help show that. So I'm going to change that to an addition sign. Since this was a negative to start with, we're going to put a plus, make that negative into a positive. So now it's 12 and 1/10 plus 1/10, which, if we line up the decimal points again, bring the decimal point straight down, we see is 12 and 2/10. So now here's an example for you to try on your own. So now we have 52 and 3/10 and we're subtracting a negative 7/8. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and add the opposite, so I'm going to add a positive. Here I have 52 and 3/10. I'm going to add 7 and 8/10, making sure I have those decimal points lined up. Bring that straight down. 3 plus 8 is 11. Carry the 1. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. So we would get 60 and 1/10.